All right, EdTech Dialect session 3, talking about Canvas quizzes, Canvas new quizzes today. Before we get going, I just want to go over a couple items. The first thing is the EdTech Dialect course. I think that most of you have access to it, but I'll circle back and make sure that everyone has access to it. But the nice thing about this is where you're going to be able to go to find previous sessions if you haven't already. So maybe somebody in your department or somebody that you're speaking to would like to go back and watch one of these sessions. They all get posted here, right here in the modules in this course. You can see the September session is here. The October session is here, and you can watch the recording. And then this session that we're doing right now will also be there once we complete it and I get a chance to upload it, including the...
Separate from the instructor support course?
Yes, this is separate from the instructor support course. Yep.
I can't see it.
So I'll share that back out. It is a public course. In fact, what I might end up doing, and I don't know if I have already, I might have, but I think it might be linked in the instructor resource course, but I might be wrong. So yeah, you'll be able to find it there. Now I have been putting the recordings in Studio so that when you watch them, or if you watch them, or whoever watches them, I can verify that you watch them, not saying that you're a liar, but the HLC likes to see who's attending sessions and stuff like that, so that I can make sure that I get you your badge. That's right, badges. So speaking of badges, I already said a little bit about badges. Michelle and Dean are here, so they're gonna get their badges for this session right now. Now these are just the physical badges. These are just like the swag badges that you can put in your office window and your bumper sticker, your fridge, wherever. But I also am awarding digital badges as well that you can display in LinkedIn, that you can display on your portfolio. So there's several options, and just generally for you to collect and brag about. Now you're like, Kevin, what do these do for me? Really nothing, other than show that you have proved yourself as a lifelong learner. And Sarah's here now as well, and she gets her badge right now too. So there's some perks in addition to the delicious hot and ready pizza for coming and showing up in person. So there you go. Now this is the third and final session from the fall session of the EdTech Dialects. I'll be rolling out some more sessions in the spring. Right now, kind of looking at mobility with mobile, some accessibility, maybe an accessibility session. And what's this other one I have listed here? How you can help your students. What a good idea. You could probably use some of that too. So we'll talk about some tools. And then I'm also hoping to have a video session as well. So that's the here and the now and the upcoming. So Heather, yeah, I have to circle back to that EdTech Dialect course and make sure that it's available for everybody. I might just link it if it's not already linked, as you mentioned there, in the instructor resource course, but we'll get it available for you. If nothing else, I'm pretty sure that I've shared it in a previous email, but you might find that I'm telling a myth on that as well. But regardless, let's go ahead and get this party started and talk about Canvas new quizzes. Just like always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to speak up or throw it in the chat. I always find it helpful that people that are attending that might have already used this tool or used encountered that question to be able to answer in the chat is a pretty cool thing as well. So don't hesitate to answer it if you know the answer. So first things first, what are we hoping to accomplish today? Well, understanding how to access and use new quizzes, identify different question types, because with the new quizzes, there are new question types that have been rolled out. Also understanding what is available for reporting and your data collection. It's probably one of the underutilized things.
You're one of those students.
Oh, Michelle got busted. That's okay. But one of the underutilized things that we have available to us in Canvas quizzes and in our Canvas courses in general with the new analytics is the ability to look at some of the data that we collect. So we're going to take a peek at that. And also, importantly, among other things, understand how to take our old legacy quizzes, as they call it, and convert them into new quizzes. So some new quiz basics. First of all, what's new with new quizzes? Well, the first thing that you're going to notice is that in your quiz area in your course, you have two different icons, and you probably already noticed that. And the unfilled in quiz icon, as you can see at the top, is a classic quiz, which you're probably more used to as the quiz for the quiz engine. And the filled in is a new quiz. So that's how you can designate between the two. Obviously, you can click on them as well and find out real quick. But that is the quick way with an icon. Student quiz accommodations for a whole course. So like you can set an accommodation if a student can do retakes or have more time and stuff like that by the whole course instead of just quiz to quiz. You can still do it quiz to quiz, and I'll show you how that looks. One of the biggest questions that I get from instructors, and it's actually on the questionnaire thing that I had just sent back to me. I don't even know what to call it, a questionnaire, kind of poorly organized questionnaire, is moderate. How do I moderate a quiz? How do I give students extended time, more time, change the time, more retakes, things like that for one student? I'm going to show you how to do that as well. One of the confusing parts of new quizzes, I'm sure you're going to say, well, there's a lot, Kevin, that I'm going to hope to clarify is the scoring. You're going to have the ability to enter a score when you're setting up the quiz settings, but you're also going to be able to enter a score per question. So I'm going to try and shed some light on that. You can shuffle answers by question. So if you have like a multiple choice, you can shuffle those particular items student to student. And I mentioned the quiz data. We're going to show you what that looks like. And one of the things that I get a lot, and I think specifically from the nursing department, or I used to get, maybe not so much anymore, is can I print quizzes? All right. And I'm sure at some point, most of you have probably wanted to print a quiz, whether a student needs to take a retake in class and doesn't have a device, or you just want to have an artifact on hand, whatever the case may be, you can print quizzes now in new quizzes. You can also require a waiting period between retakes. So if you give a student multiple attempts, you can check a box and say, hey, you can't just retake this right away, back to back, bam, bam. You have to wait an hour, okay? Show me that you actually tried to do some more work, or you have to wait a day. But that's your option as the instructor with the new quiz tool. And there's also some new question types. There's 3 listed here. There's a 4th one as well, categorization. And I will be diving in specifically to all 4 of those for you to see as well. Now, I'm going to tell you one thing, and I know I'm talking really fast because I'm trying to fly. I'm going to cover a lot about new quizzes. And I'm probably going to touch on some things that you already know. I'm going to probably touch on some things that you don't know. I'm going to probably touch on some things that you know more about than I do. Okay? Yeah, I'm come to terms with that, and I'm okay with that. But there's also a lot of new things that are developing with new quizzes. So something that might be true today might be untrue tomorrow, and vice versa, okay? Because things are developing, things are changing. So if you used to hate new quizzes, you might find that don't shake your head no, Sarah. You might find that you like them a little bit more now if you try them again. Yeah, growth mindset, perfect. I like labels, there we go. Not just kidding. All right, so anyways, the first thing that you're gonna need to know about is that you can migrate your old quizzes into new quizzes with the click of a button. Okay, or the tap of a screen. There is bulk migrating coming as well. So like you're gonna have the ability when you do a course copy in the future to migrate all of your old quizzes into new quizzes, okay? You don't have that option yet. You will, all right? When it comes to migrating a quiz, it's super simple. From the quiz area, and I'm not there yet, I need to go there. I'm gonna sit down in my little seat here. From the quiz area, you're going to find an old quiz, and remember, that's the unfilled in items. And all you have to do is click on the menu dots and hit migrate, and you can see a migration is in process or in progress. And if I refresh it, I might be able to catch it mid-migration. There we go, look at that, okay? So it's as simple as that to migrate your quiz over from a legacy or old to a new. Now you'll also notice that when it migrates, it keeps the old version as well, okay? So you can choose what you want to do with it, whether you get rid of it, move on from it, or just keep it. It's up to you, okay? If you're one of those pack rat quiz keepers, you might find yourself with a lot of duplicates of quizzes. It's probably because you just can't let the legacy edition go. When it comes to question banks, a lot of you use question banks. You're going to see some difference here. Not only in the name, okay, the old quizzes refer to them as question banks. The new quizzes refers to them as item banks. But you're going to also see differences in sharing capabilities, where you go to find them. For those of you that have used question banks in the past, you know that it's a pain to find those question banks. Am I right?
Yes.
There we go. Okay. When it comes to these item banks, it's so easy to find them as long as you know how to edit your course navigation. Life is simple. the downside right now, and this could change real soon, is you cannot take and migrate without a kind of a rigmarole process your current old quiz question banks into item banks. Yeah.
That's why I hate it.
However, if you convert your quiz to a new quiz, those questions come with it and you can easily get them into an item bank.
Okay.
So, yeah, I know there are things that, for lack of a better term, suck about new quizzes. Okay. My hope today is that I share with you some things that are good about new quizzes so we can work to do that migration at some point. It doesn't have to happen yet. Okay. So if you're here, I think I'm going to say by the end of the term, you need to be thinking about using new quizzes. That's not going to happen. You're in luck. You can keep using your old quiz tool, and I'll talk more about that in a second.
It's not listed on.
So diving into the item banks, let's just take a look at my screen real quick. If you don't see it on your course navigation menu, because I have it right here, all you have to do is go to your settings and navigation, just like anything else, and find it down here, drag it up to the top, and don't forget to save. And you will need to refresh, obviously, to make it show up here on your screen. But once it shows up in your course navigation, you can open it up and you will see the item banks that are available for you. Now, here's what's cool. Here's what's really cool is if people created item banks and shared them institution-wide, look at this. You have access to a lot of item banks right there. Are you going to need all those item banks? Probably not. I hope not. Okay, you need a life outside of building quizzes for other people if you need all those. All right, but the cool thing is you can create a new bank. So I'm going to go ahead and do that quick. I'll just call this ETD sample 2 because I think I already created a sample 1. And from that, if you're somebody that uses a vendor textbook and you're like, hey, I want to import QTI files or zip files or whatever you want to call them, you can do that. So there we go. There's my sample 2. I open that up because if you're importing content to a item bank, it has to be a new one. All right, you can't use a pre-existing one. So you go to here and you hit, oops, we're not adding a new one. We're going up to here and we're going to hit import content. And if you got that handy little zip file, that QTI zip file from your publisher, you can drop that right in there and build your question banks. Pretty easy, okay? Other than the fact that you have to do it and you can't just migrate them over, bulk migrate them over yet, okay? So that's pretty easy. If you still want to add additional questions, you click on new and look at that. You can add all of those different question types right into it from there. Going back, the beauty of this is now like, you know, you don't have to go and say, hey, Kevin, I don't remember how to get to my question banks. Because remember, you had to like click on the quiz, click on the little menu dots, or actually go to edit the quiz, click on the menu dots, find question banks, or go to build the quiz. Okay, just me explaining it right now tells you the process to get to it. Now it's on your course navigation. You click on item banks, and the item banks that are in this course are going to pop up. The item banks that are shared to this course should also pop up if they're available. I don't know. I don't remember if I did any of these or not. I thought I did 2. There we go.
Will my students be able to click on it now?
No. Here, that's a good question. Here, I'm in a student account right now, and we'll find out. There you go. See, I made it available. No item banks, and this student's in the course. So that's a good question right there. Your students won't be able to see your item banks. That'd be kind of bad, right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Because usually I drag them down so they can't see them.
Right. So here's the cool thing about item banks. So check this out. So if you wanted to share them, like Michelle, I could hook you up with some questions real quick. And I don't want to share it to a course. Okay. I want to share that with a person. I don't know why Michelle's name didn't pop up. There's Sarah. See, Sarah popped up. See, let's see if Dean pops up. Dean's here too. Look at that. So just like that, I can quickly share those item banks with anyone that I want. Okay. And maybe I want them to edit it. I can change that to give them privileges to that. Maybe I'm like, Sarah, you've been abusing my questions that I share with you. I'm going to get ready here. So same with you, Dean. See you later. Okay. But so now you don't have access. Okay, but it's very easy to share those question banks across our institution with specific users. And you might have noticed that you can share them with a specific course as well. So I want to share these with a Math 101, 102 course. Okay, very easy to do that. I can see which course it is. All right, I can also use the SysID, and I can easily share that with whoever I need to do that. So item banks, I would say, are an improvement over what we had before. All right. Any questions on item banks? I don't see anything in the chat. I don't hear anything. Roll on. Question types. So it might be kind of hard to see on the slide, but they have like a question type breakdown. And you can see that pretty much every question type that's available in the old quiz tool is available in some form for the most part in the new quiz tool, in addition to some new quiz types. So you'll see the stimulus question type, the categorization, and the ordering and hotspot were not available in the old quiz tool. Now they're available in the new quiz tool. Okay, so I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about those different question types. But the nice thing is, in a question type that I get a lot from you is, can I apply partial points to some questions? You can now. Okay, using fill in the blank and multiple answer question types that are in new quizzes. You can award partial points. So if you have like 4 fill in the blanks and they get one of them, they get 25%. Okay. Same with multiple answer. Okay. Because they're answering multiple items. They're working to improve functionality for ordering and matching. And they also have the ability with a multiple choice to award more points for certain answers. So if they're maybe close, they get 1 point, even though the question's worth 3 points, which they get for the right answer. Does that make sense?
You can do this already with matching, Kevin.
Okay, good.
But not sorting yet.
Right. So there's just some nuances in your capabilities as we cruise forward. Okay, that doesn't mean there won't be a learning curve for a lot of these things too. So diving into the individual question types, the first one is ordering. You can prompt students to place answers in a specific order, pretty self-explanatory. You can add a top and a bottom label, and I'll show you what that looks like in its most basic form as I created a sample question. And then when you grade them, students must order all items correctly to earn full points. There is not an option at this time for the partial. Okay, so there's your answer on that. So if I pop over here to my sample, I think this is my sample here. There we go. So you can see I have my ordering done right here. Okay. And I did it as list the holidays in order of the first to the last in the calendar year. And I started at the top with January 1st all the way down to December 31st. And the students need to come in here and label them accordingly. Okay. Now, you're going to want to set these as the right answer when you're setting them up. But when you go to the student view, and I think I can get to the student view here. Well, this is an actual student. We can see that they now have them out of order. Okay, so the 4th of July is now first. So their job is to click in here and make them make sense. Okay, how'd I do? One more, there we go. Okay, so pretty straightforward, pretty simple. The next item is a hotspot. Now, hotspot is not accessible. A screen reader can't view it. So if you have a student in your class that has that particular accommodation, be aware of that, all right? But a hotspot's a pretty cool thing to set up. It might lead to more engagement with your students and the big picture visualization of things. But it's a matter of dropping an image and putting a prompt. And it's pretty simple to do. You can see I took a cell here. I don't know what type of cell this is. I'm sure somebody does. But I just said, hey, I want you to identify the inner cell. All right. So in editing this, and
It's not a plant cell. I'm joking. There's no inner cell.
I told you some people would know and some people wouldn't.
Did you say inner cell?
You said inner cell. Identify the inner cell.
Membrane, whatever.
Nucleus, mitochondria, centrioles, Golgi.
Your membranes.
You're getting multiple learning points here, not just specific tech tools, but also cell knowledge. You're welcome.
I'm just waiting for this.
All right, so I actually have to edit this quiz, and this is something that some instructors complained about. I won't name names, and that's fine that they complained about it, but but you have to,
It's all good.
yeah, you have to edit a copy of the question since students already took this. And I'll explain more on that here in a second. But to set this up, you can create a square. So if I wanted to like square something, I can be like, name this area right here, okay? You can do a circle, and that's when I said the inner cell. And you can also do a polygon, all right? I'm just going with a circle on this one. I'm not actually going to finish the edit because I don't want that copy.
Does it change can you change the contrast? Because that's kind of hard to see on the.
Well, the key is that you don't want them to see it. Because when the student goes to take it, you want them to just click on that area, identify the inner cell. So
anywhere they click in that circle
As
that
long
you
as
put.
it's-
will be a correct answer, yes.
Okay.
So the student rolls in here and they click here, that you can see that it marks it.
Okay.
All right. But if they go and click here, it still just marks it. We know it's right where they're clicked right now. They have no idea. All right. So they're like, good, I got it. I'm confident that that is the inner cell, whatever that is.
Now, does it like ignore their first click?
Yeah, it just moves it until they submit. They can click wherever they want to click. Okay. Just remember, this is not accessible. So if you have a student with a screen reader, this is no bueno. All right. So that is a hotspot. You can't put multiple hotspots on one image. That is a complaint. That is a complaint that I have fielded before. I didn't field it as a complaint. I fielded it as a question, but it is a complaint that is out there on the Canvas guides and the community, whatever you want to call it. All right. But hotspot's very easy to set up. You can see you can use a lot of different image types. Pretty cool thing just to be aware of.
And you could use the same image over and over and over again with different questions.
Yeah, you got it. You got it. That's how you get around that. The next one is a stimulus question. Now, my mind goes right to like my elementary days and like MEP testing and stuff like that, when you had to like read the passage and then go answer a bunch of questions on it. Same thing, okay? Only you can do it now in new quizzes. So what that looks like is, I'll show you from a student view. I attached more sciencey things here. And there's a whole lot of stuff in there that I have no idea about.
God, did you find anything with English?
Okay, good. I feel better now.
Oh, that is.
Michelle doesn't get it either, so that's good. That's good. That makes me feel good. But anyways, I just posted a reading, and from there, you can attach multiple questions. So if I scroll down to the teacher side of things, you can see that I posted the stimulus, and I can attach more than one question to that stimuli, whatever you want to call it. So I can attach a second question, and you get to choose from here what type of question. So you could have an essay from this, like read this and give a summary. You could even put like a hotspot in there of a screenshot of the reading and say, click on the area where it points out this, or where it best describes this, or you guys are the pros. You know your examples right here. You get the idea, okay? But you can attach a lot of different questions to a particular stimulus, which is pretty cool. Next one is categorization. Okay, and I have a firm example of that as well. We went back to the science well, and I set up a question for you or the student to put a cell in its correct category. And I have two different category types. Now, what I want you to see is what this looks like, because this is how I set it up. Okay, and if I set it up from the start, you can see the two different categories here. You can add an additional category if you wanted a third category or a fourth category, okay? And then you can start putting in those answers that go under each particular category. You can also add distractors, and I'm going to show you the distractors that I added here in a second. So if I pop over to the student view, you're going to see my categorization one. This is how it presents itself to the student right here, all right? You can see you just have your two categories, and you have those items, and it's up to them to drag and drop their items in the correct category. So we're going to go ahead and do this correctly because I remember the answers. And you can see my distractors are left alone, okay? Other cell types. Obviously, yours would be a little bit less obvious as to them being distractors, but you can do that as well if you want to be just cruel and vengeful to your students. Just kidding. You're just challenging them. All right. But those right there are the four different question types. that have been added, and I think that they can be very useful to you in your learning environments. So a little bit now about some feature comparisons from the old quiz tool to the new quiz tool. There's a lot of them, but I want to point out a few. First of all, we're lucky because we use Respondus Lockdown Monitor and Browser and Monitor. And that is available in new quizzes. So if you use that, you're good. If we used another proctoring tool, not available yet. This is the only one. I mentioned you have the ability to print quizzes. You also have the ability to print quizzes that students have already answered or taken, I guess I should say. So if I pop over to this particular quiz right here, oops, I'm in the student view. Okay, and I go up to the top, I can actually, and I can't do it right now because I'm editing it, but I can print it with the answers. I can print it. In a little bit, I'll show you how you can print like actual student quizzes that they've taken as well if you wanted to do that. So if you're having like parent-teacher conferences and you wanted to pull something out, you could do that. I say that for our early college crowd that's hanging out with me today. In addition, you have blueprint integration. So for those of you that are frustrated about doing an edit to a question, I've been suggesting that you do the edit in the blueprint. I think that will be the solution. So that then going forward, even though it's not going to stick on a quiz in a class that a student's already taken, it will then in the blueprint going forward when you sync it to future courses. Now, Elizabeth Klooster is not here today with us, but one of the things that she really was hoping would happen is an essay question in a new quiz would get added to your to-do list and maybe even a student's to-do list. Well, it's there now. Okay, so if you have ungraded essay questions in your new quiz, it'll show up in your to-do list on the homepage of your dashboard, and also in the homepage of your course. So there's just a couple key takeaways right there. You'll also notice that there's still some lacking functionality for item banks when it comes to blueprints. So you're not able to sync item banks to blueprints yet, okay? I'm gonna preface everything with a lot of yet when it comes to some of the things that aren't available, because most of these items that I've said aren't available, they are actively working on. And I can't see, need that to go away, so give me a second and I think it will go away. It should go away. But as I mentioned, lockdown browser support is available, and that's really the only thing I want to point out here. I'm going to mention the rich content editor because you're going to notice there's a lot of missing check marks here. We're gonna have a little talk about that as well. Heather asked in the chat for blueprints. It doesn't matter if a student has taken it or not. After you sync the first time, any changes you make to a new quiz in the blueprint will not copy into the current course. That is correct, but more for if you need to make changes for future courses. I think it will sync in to those if you make a change. And if I'm wrong, it will.
It's just problematic if you make your quiz find a typo, you can't fix it in the you have to fix it in the blueprint and you have to fix it in your current course. Mm-hmm. So.
And that typo does not change for students that have already taken it, correct? Just for
correct.
Students,
you would have to go through, if you find it really at the end, you'd have to go through and do like a regrade option.
Correct. And I'll show you what that looks like as well. All right, we're cruising. Now, speaking of the rich content editor, right now it is not up to feature the features of the old quiz tool. All right, you can't add a studio video. You can't do a lot of the media recorders. So if you do that, your best bet is to stick with the old quiz tool for now. In fact, if I point out to you what that rich content editor looks like, it's like basically nothing. So let me just go ahead and edit this question quick and you'll see it. Why is this not allowing me to edit? Maybe if I refresh it. Things can't be easy. There we go. Okay, so here's for the title right here. Okay, you can see that it's missing a lot of things. You're probably like, oh my gosh, this feels so 2016 when I'm in Canvas, and you would be correct. Okay, it's missing a lot of items. A lot of the integrated tools like Studio and Office and stuff like that are not in here.
Kevin, as a workaround, you can, if you're in Studio, you can create a public link and you can share links. Correct. Students can submit their work that way and you can share stuff with them as well.
Correct. Heather has been trying to find a workaround for Studio because she is patiently waiting for the studio submission option in a quiz for students, correct?
I am absolutely waiting for that.
Patiently, I said patiently. So yeah, that we need some more updates when it comes to the rich content editor. So as far as building a new quiz, I'm going to walk you through just briefly some ins and outs of that, because there are some kind of confusing points, pain points, if you will. But I do want to point out a couple things before we dive in. Like I mentioned, you can set the overall point value for the quiz, and then you can set individual point values for the quiz questions. And the explanation is right there at the bottom of the screen if you're looking at the screen. So for example, if you set the total points on the assignment details page to 50, and then you create a quiz that only has 10 questions worth 1 point each, the quiz has a total of 10 points, but is actually worth, because you set it, 50 points. So if a student answers 9 correctly, their score is 90%. Basically, it's just going to take that and make a 90% out of a 50-point total, and voila, there you have it. All right. If you don't want to get into that back and forth, just make sure that you set up your quiz questions to reflect what you set the overall point value for the quiz to be. Okay. Pretty simple, but if you were not like a math person or a big type weighted grades person, that's your explanation right there. In addition to that, I'm just going to dive into setting one up so you can see what it looks like to build one if you haven't already. So I'm going to back out of it. I don't know why I hit back. I'm just going to hit return. That will, anytime you hit return, it's going to take you back to your module area or your home page of the course. And I am just going to go ahead and I'm going to select, I'm going to go to the quiz area to do it. And I'm going to choose new quiz. When I do that, it's going to ask me, hey, what kind of quiz do you want? You want one of the old ones? Or you want one of the new ones? I'm going to go new. And you can also check a box. If you are like fully converted to new quizzes, it can remember that for you and it won't ask you again. Okay? Or it'll actually set it by default. It'll ask you. So now it's going to dump you right into that quiz summary area. You're going to notice some different things. In terms of submission type, you can't change that. Okay? It is going to reference it as an LTI tool because that's what this quiz engine is. Okay? We can talk about what that is in greater depth after this session if you'd like. Here's what I'm talking about, setting the overall point value. All right? You can set it to whatever you need to. I'm just going to leave it at 10, and we're going to give it a name. Right there. All right. Now you're going to notice that we don't start adding questions in a tab up here like we used to, but we can integrate Mastery Pass into this if we'd like. So for those of you that are using Mastery Pass, if you are, you can do that here. Another cool thing about new quizzes is you can add your so if you use outcomes in your or learning mastery in your Canvas course, you can apply individual course outcomes or goals by question instead of to the overall quiz. With the old quiz tool, it was by overall quiz. You could apply, here's some course goals and just throw them on there. You can integrate them into specific questions, and I'll show you that here as well. You can do your assigned to business and stuff right there, but when you're ready to start adding questions, you click on build. And that will take us into the quiz build area. From here, you can change the name if you'd like. You can add instructions. All right, and you can get more in depth if you'd like. You can pull in course goals and outcomes right from here if you'd like, but you don't have to. If you want to use your item banks, there they are. If you want to search for more, you can do that. Remember, we have access to all those item banks, so I could pull in an item bank and be like, I want this question, and boom, just like that, they're there. If you'd like to pull in all of them, well, you can do that as well and set filters, and you all can play around with that. But anyways, I pulled those in, but I want to add some more. So I'm going to click on a plus right here, and that's where I can choose my item type. Okay, I can insert other content as well. I'm just going to do a basic true or false. Actually, I don't want to do that. I can delete that. I want to do a fill in the blank because I want to show you something. So when it says question title, this is where it gets a little confusing. So zone in right now if you're zoning out. Question title, your students don't see it. This is for your reference. So I might be like, hey, this question is from chapter 2, okay? Or whatever else notes that you want to put in there to name the question. Now, the question stem is the question, all right? So I'm going to use the example up at the top there. Roses are red, violets are blue. And you're like, you didn't do anything. Okay, that's because I have to use what's called back ticks. Does everybody know how to find the back tick on their keyboard? It took me a minute. It's right next to the 1 on your keyboard. So if you put back ticks around it, you notice that right below it, it's going to pop up my option to put in my options. Okay, and then I did a second one. I can do a third one as well. And they would just keep on adding them. You can see a third one was entered. Now from here, you can just say, hey, I want you to just type in what the right answer is, or you can say, hey, I'm gonna allow them a drop down of different choices. And you can see you can put the right answer and some distractors in there if you choose. You could also create a word bank, and it's the same idea. I want them to just straight up fill this one in, but even if you do it as a fill in the blank, check this out. You can make it so it's like, hey, maybe they don't know how to spell red. Okay, so we can make it close enough, or we can make it an exact match, or you can specify correct answers. So they can do that as well, and they can get it right. You're super nice.
If
All right.
you said close enough, though, it asks you about Lowenstein, or there's some, like how close, I'm assuming is what it means.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what it is?
Which one now?
I choose close enough. It asks Lowenstein, Levenstein.
Does anybody know the answer to this right here?
Is that just like number of letters off?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Google it.
You.
Okay.
Yeah, it allows you to.
Oh, there he is.
It allows you to misspell words, and you can, like if they didn't put a capital on the word that you had in as the answer, it'll give them one chance to like miss that capital. If you put in 4, then they can make 4 errors and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So Dan, back in '97, I don't know if you know this, was a spelling bee champion, and he's drawn on his past.
That's right.
Well, we could run with that, Dan.
No, it was way before '97, Kevin.
I was trying to help you out, man. All right. Thanks, Dan. So now Sarah doesn't have to Google it. I don't have to wonder. We got that all figured out. If we didn't learn anything about quizzes, we learned something about Levenstein today. All right, so that's how you set that up. A little bit more about that though. When it comes to aligning the outcomes, I mentioned you can align specific outcomes to a particular question. You can adjust the point value, so if you wanted that to be worth more points, you could do that as well. I told you with a multiple choice that you can, I want to add a new multiple choice, that you can assign varied point value by answer, so check that out. And when you do that, you now have these numbers here. So they got one that's kind of right, you get 1 point for that. But the right answer, and we identify that by putting that radio button right there, is going to be worth 2 points, and all the rest are going to be worth none. In addition to, what's 2 plus 2 is, yeah, it's 4, Dan, I got you on that. In addition to that, you can give feedback on individual answers. So, oh shoot, you tried real hard, but you didn't get it right. Here's why you got it wrong. So if you want to explain that to your students, you can do that just like you could in old quizzes. You can also shuffle those choices for students by students. You can pull in different item bank questions, or vice versa. You can add this. So if you're creating a new question here, you can add it to an item bank right from there. Okay, so it makes it very easy to do that. So there's a lot of ins and outs to building these quizzes. In addition to that, if we go to the settings area, you can set things for the quiz as well. Makes sense. Okay, so you can shuffle questions, shuffle answers. So if you don't want question 1 to be question 1 for everybody, obviously you're going to shuffle the questions. If you want to present one question at a time, you can do that. All right, and there's more options for that as well. Need a time limit? They got a time limit. Access code, boom, right there. Allow calculator. Multiple attempts is a good one because I mentioned the waiting period. When you allow multiple attempts after you filter these things out, you can click that waiting period right there, and you can see that you can put a waiting period on for the students. Okay. Also, this one gets asked about quite a bit, is can we hide the answers from students? So if I pop over to a student view real quick, and we go ahead and we've done most of this. I didn't study is my answer there. Michelle didn't know either. There we go. I feel better about myself because I threw Michelle under the bus. And we submit that. Are you sure you want to submit? Yeah, we want to submit. Okay, and look at that. Okay, we don't have, the instructor's not giving us access to the results yet. Okay, now if I were to go in and change that, I don't know if it changes it on the fly. If I refresh this, nope. Okay, so we'd have to wait for the instructor to display the results. Okay, if we didn't do that, here's another student that took it. Okay, you can see that they got that one right. Okay, it tells them that all that information is right there. We have not gotten into grade on the speed grader yet. We need to do that, and it tells the student that it hasn't been graded yet. Speaking of the speed grader, okay, you can go to your grade book and get to the speed grader, and then you can then see all of your students, as I pop to the speed grader right quick, how they answered each quiz. You can give them comment feedback, or you can grab from your comment library, for those of you that remember the comment library, okay? You can also, if you applied a rubric, that will show up as well, because you can add a rubric. But here is that essay question right there. We can look it over. This is not something I recall. You don't get any points because you didn't answer the right answer. Okay, I can give some feedback if I wanted to right from here. If I wanted to go back and regrade a particular question, even though they got 1 out of 1, I'm like, well, I'm saying they didn't click on the right thing. Okay, and I can take some points away as well. So that's the speed grader right there. Pretty cool. We can pop through wherever we want to go as far as our student list goes, and that's that. I'm just going to stick, since we're running out of time, I'm going to stick with the actual quiz itself.
Kevin, did you tell them that they have to hit the recalculation button at the end of the quiz?
Oh,
otherwise,
no,
anything they did isn't going to save.
Yeah, update. Sorry, I didn't. Yep, right there. Okay, and it's kind of cut off the screen. Thanks, Heather, for bringing that up. But popping back to the quiz real quick, because there's a couple things that important things I want to get over, because I know a lot of you got a split. If we go to the reports now, unfortunately, new quiz analytics, the overall Canvas analytics takes too long to update. So my quiz reports are not available for me yet, but they're pretty in-depth and pretty cool. I will tell you that Canvas told me, not just me, but a lot of people at the Michigan Canvas conference, that for those of you that use new analytics on your course homepage to look at student data, they're going to be making it so it updates more frequently now. And that will include this quiz data as well. Because I had my test students take my sample quizzes this morning, and obviously the reports are still not built. So as far as reports go, if you have outcomes tied to it, you can view that. If you want individual quiz item analysis, you can view that. Probably most importantly is the moderation. If you want to give a student additional time, this is where you do it. If you want to give a student a retake, this is where you do it. But I don't want to look at this one. I want to look at the quiz my sample quiz, which is right here. And I'm going to pop into that. And I want to go to that moderate area. And we're almost done. And you can see that they've attempted it multiple times. If I need to view a specific student, you're like, well, hey, you didn't spend very much time. I can actually like get in and see how quickly they answered everything. Okay, so they're like, no, I didn't buzz through this. I took my time. And you're like, well, it took you 48 seconds. I don't think it took you very much time. You didn't take your time. Okay, not that we're in the business of arguing with students, but that happens from time to time. We can also apply accommodations, but this is going to be for these settings will be applied for all course assessments. Okay, so be aware of that. If you set it up here, it's going to be for all of them. If you want to just give a student more time, you go to moderate, and then you can give additional attempts, and you could give more time if it is set to be a timed quiz. Okay, so that's that right there. If you ever need to give students more time or adjust that, this is where you're going to do it from. All right. So we have about 10 more minutes left. I know that some of you have to get to your courses. I appreciate all of you for taking time to attend. If you got to leave now, if you didn't get a badge because you're virtual, that's great. I'll be putting it in your mailbox and making sure that you get it digitally. I talked about accommodations, quiz printing as well. As far as the roadmap goes, there's a whole lot coming your way, and I'll probably just send out the roadmap to all of you after this session. That's probably easier to do because there's a lot of things and there's no reason for me to read them. So if you're looking for a specific item, you're more likely to be able to see it here if you peruse it on your own. As you know, I collected audience questions, and the big one is, when do I have to stop using legacy quizzes? Well, they just announced recently that there's no timeline on it anymore, okay? You can use legacy quizzes currently to infinity if you make it that far. I'm sure at some point they will re-announce a sunset date for it, but currently there is not. So like, for those of you that were thinking, well, I thought it was June 2023, not the case, okay? You can continue to use the old quiz tool. I encourage you to continue to look into this new quiz tool because I think that the feature parity is getting where we need it to be. Maybe not quite where you need it to be. Maybe you're waiting on one or two things, and that's cool. Let me know what those things you're waiting on are, and I can keep an ear on the tracks for you as things are released. Mentioned editing a quiz question and how it makes a copy if students have already taken it. Like I said, if you do need to make an update to a question, just do it in the blueprint and look to the future for future syncs. Showed you how to update a quiz if a student missed the deadline. I know Heather, among others, wants the studio submission as an option. There are workarounds, but we would like to just be like, hey, a straight up studio question would be great where they got to record a video. We're not alone in asking for that. And so I mentioned how to pull questions from a test bank and how to hide answers until a certain date. And another question is, are there extra credit question options? Not at this time. That feature is not under development, but it will be considered for future development. So that's all I have for you today. I appreciate, like I said, you showing up, giving up your lunch. If you want some pizza, I still have some. Other than that, I'm going to take it over to the service desk. But that's all I have for you. If you have any questions, send them my way. Thanks for hanging out and have a great day.
Thanks, Kevin.